Alright, welcome back everyone. Welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to breed swordtails. I'm not talking about that kind of swordtail, silly. I'm talking about swordtails, as in the fish. I don't know what their scientific name is. Play it right here. Alright, so basically if you're watching on this video, it means that you wanted to learn how to breed these guys and get these cute little babies. And I know you really want these, so let's do it. Also, don't forget to comment, because on this channel we do a thing called Comment of the Week. Each week I pick a comment and you get a shout out.
And that's facts.
Alrighty, so we're going to be talking about swordtails and going into a little bit more detail about how to raise and breed them. So the swordtail, and its scientific name is Xiphosaurus helleri, is found in Mexico and northern Central America. So they are found in pretty thickly planted freshwater streams. They get about 6 inches long, the males do, and the females get about 5.5 inches. They live to about 5 years, and you could keep them in temperatures from 65 degrees to 82. Now, swordtails do a lot better in harder water, so if you do have some softer water, it's fine, but they really do like it better in hard water. So they go from pH from 7 to 8.4, and the nice thing about swordtails is there's so many different kinds, and that's kind of like with all live bears. There's so many different kinds of these fish that you could get, and so they have pineapples, which is what we got here. They're pineapple swords. There's red wags, blood red eye, painted, assorted, neon, and there's also different types. So some of these types may affect the fins, and so there's red Mickey Mouse, which is a color pattern where you have 2 dots and a larger dot on the body, which kind of looks like Mickey Mouse's head. And you have hyphen platies, or not platies, swordtails, and they have this really long, tall dorsal fin. And you also have leertail swords, which have really, really long, like stringy fins, they're pretty cool looking. Alright, so for breeding, I'm going to talk about food first. What kind of food you want to be feeding if you want to start breeding these guys. Now, swordtails, they're not picky eaters. They'll eat a lot of stuff. What I suggest you do is get some good flake food, as well as some frozen brine shrimp or bloodworms. And so if you can hatch baby brine shrimp, that's a really good one, especially for the babies, and I'll get to that in a second. But you want frozen brine shrimp, which you could feed, and that works really good. And also just get a really good flake food, and so you want them to kind of have a variety in their diet. Swordtails do eat algae and some plants, so if you have plants in there, that'll be really good. I've seen them go around this tank, and they're kind of cleaning every surface. They're always constantly pecking on stuff and finding something to eat on. So they're not hard to feed, and they're really good to feed too, because they're really fun when they'll frenzy and they get pretty good appetite. I want to talk about the golden ratio for a second, which is basically for like live bears and fish in general, really, not all of them, but for the most part, you want to have 1 male for every 2 females. So the males are if you look at the back side of their tail, they have that sword, and it's that long bottom fin. And the females don't have that sword, and they're going to be a little bit smaller, and they're going to be a little bit wider. And so basically the golden ratio, the purpose of it is so that you don't stress out the females, because if you have too many males, the males are always chasing the females, trying to breed them, and the females, you know, they'll try and swim away. And so if you have 3 males and 1 female, then it'll just chase her around all the time, and she'll get stressed out, and you'll have diseases and you'll probably die. So you'll want 1 male, 2 females, so that, you know, he's not constantly just chasing 1 fish, but he's got a bunch of them. Now I have 3 females in here and 1 male, so got the ratio going. To stimulate breeding, like we said, try a water change while you're feeding that really good food. And so this works with angelfish and a lot of fish in general. If you're having troubles with them breeding, just go ahead, do a water change. The big change of water always helps them out for some reason. It stimulates them. When you do get babies, you can have, swordtails have about 5 to 20 babies in a batch. And so if you want to get the maximum amount of fry out of your batch, because most of the time they'll have around 10 to 15 to 20, but what happens is a lot of them get eaten. And so what you want is you want a really nice planted tank. So you want it really thick and lots of places for the babies to hide at so that they don't get eaten. And when you notice the babies, either put them in a breeding box or take them out and put them in another tank if you're worried about it. But if not, then just leave them in there. If you have enough covered, they'll be fine. And you're gonna want to feed them the same stuff you feed the adults. So grind up the flake food and put that in there just a little bit so they could eat on it. And frozen or live baby brine is a really good food for fry because it just floats around all the tank. It's really heavy in protein and it's fresh. So if you're able to hatch live baby brine shrimp, that is a really good food for baby fish. If you have a female who has babies and she gets pregnant right after, it'll be about a month until you have more babies. So it's about a month each time you'll have babies. And once you start getting a big enough colony of them, you kind of just have babies all the time because everyone's getting pregnant at different times and it's kind of this big cycle. It's pretty cool. So what tank size do you want? Now I'm pretty sure I said earlier the smallest you could go is a 10, and I wouldn't recommend going any smaller than that. But I mean, in general, bigger is always better for fish. Bigger tanks, it's harder for waste to build up. So for beginners, a big tank is nice because it's a lot more forgiving, and if you make a lot of mistakes, it won't make the biggest difference. So if you overfeed, it won't matter as much as if you overfed in like a 2-gallon tank. It'd be way worse. So bigger is almost always better. It gives more spots for the babies to hide. Just make sure you don't go so big that it's really wide open. Make sure that you could fill the space so that you have some spots for babies to hide. And for filters, I'd recommend a sponge filter, which is what we got in here. And if you do want to hang in the back filter, be sure you have a sponge covering the intake, or else you'll get babies starting to get sucked up. So you're gonna want to watch out for the babies and have a filter that's safe for them. Now, swordtails are a really good community fish, and they go really nicely in a community tank because they're peaceful and they're pretty colorful, and they also do good with a lot of fish. So if you do want to breed these guys like hardcore, then I suggest keeping them by themselves because you don't want the risk of other fish eating the babies or stressing them out. And so species only tank is the best way to breed these guys. Really nice. But here's some other tank mates, and we have plecos, we have corridoras, tetras, rasboras, rainbow fish, danios, mollies, angelfish, guppies, and lastly platies. So all really good tank mates. There's not really a whole lot of fish that you can't put with the swordtails, as long as whatever you put them in can't eat them and they can't eat the other fish, then they'll pretty much go together pretty good. Now if you want to take care of those babies and raise them up, here's some tips for that. You want to have a lot of plants, and I've talked about this. The cover helps them a bunch, but also they eat on what's growing in the plant. So this plant right here is Java moss, and babies really do like that plant, and it's probably one of the best baby plants. But they'll just eat, and whatever's growing on there, they'll eat it and peck around, munch on algae, all that stuff, because they really won't be coming out of hiding too much because they don't want to get eaten. So feed, fry, live baby brine, help them grow as fast as possible and get them nice and big. In 5 to 6 months, they'll be old enough to breed. So to go from a baby to an adult is 5 to 6 months. And if you do want to keep all of them alive and you don't want them getting eaten, I suggest getting a breeder box or a breeder tank. It's basically this little box for all your babies, and you could put them in there and they just swim around and it's the same water and they won't get eaten that way, and it works pretty good. So I think that's about all you need to know to breed them. Another fun thing, like a fact, is swordtails and platies, which are another fish that are really fun to breed. They're both that Xiphophorus genus, and so you could actually crossbreed them. I guess they both breed, but what happens is most of the time you'll get swordtails out of them because that's the dominant gene. So just something else that's kind of cool. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I will be picking one for shout out of the week as always, and if you did find this video useful, be sure to leave a like, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Alright, we got Idaho, Beards and Broods. I hate waiting on this fishy fanfics. Alright, I know, I was late last week, but this time I caught you guys slipping. I uploaded in the morning and you guys were late, so shame on you. You better hit the like for that. And thank you, Beards and Brews, for commenting. I'll see you next time.